Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In the series that I'm doing on knife safety and uses, I had originally intended for the second video to be, or part 2 video, to be on safety and first aid. Once I got everything laid out that I wanted to cover, I realized that was going to be entirely too much for one video. Probably looking at it, it would have turned out to be at least a 30-minute or more video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it up into 2. I'm going to cover safety in one video and then cover first aid in the other. We've already talked about the different grips and how to hold a knife and all that kind of stuff. So now we're getting to the part, we're getting ready to start using it, but there's areas that we need to avoid. And those main areas, we want to avoid them because they're bleed areas. If you cut anywhere in those areas, blood loss could be a concern. So on your arms, the main 2 places on your arms is you just want to avoid your wrist. You don't want to do anything to where you may be cutting in a way that you may get your wrist. You want to avoid those. Most of the cuts you'll get will be on your hands. Tips of your fingers, anywhere in this area. Every once in a while you may get one in the palm. Depends on what you're doing. But those are where you're going to get your common ones. I've gotten a few cuts on my legs, and they were because I was doing something and not thinking about what I was doing and didn't take the precautions that I needed. But on your legs, the main areas you want to avoid are the inside of both legs, your femoral arteries. You want to avoid those. If I remember correctly from my first aid classes and courses I've had, you cut a femoral artery somewhere 5 to 10 minutes, you can bleed out completely. So definitely want to avoid those. We'll talk more about that once we get into the first aid in the next video. So when at all possible, when using a knife, if you're notching or anything like that, you want to have something solid to work on. A bench, a stump, a log, cutting board, something to work on. There have been a few occasions to where I haven't had any of that, and I have found myself trying to cut notches and using the top of my leg as a workbench. We are told our whole life, do not cut towards yourself. But yet, we do it. And I don't know why, but we do it. So, the 2 cuts that I've had on my top of my legs, that has been exactly what happened. I was trying to cut a stop notch, or a 7 notch, and trying to make the stop cut in a piece of wood. The wood broke. Knife cut the top of my leg. I don't recommend doing that, but that being said, we're all going to do things that we're not supposed to do. So something I have gone to doing, just in case I have to do something like that, is I carry big square leather, thick, heavy leather. And if I have to work on my leg, I will put that leather down and work on that leather. That will decrease my chances of cutting myself. And on that, I can make stop cuts and stuff like that to make notches if I have to. If I have to, I can put it down and use it this way. Do I recommend that? No, I do not. But if you do it, think about it. Do everything you can to increase your chances of not getting cut. Most of my cuts on my hands have been due to wood breaking while I was carving on it. The number one cut that I see on my hands is just like what I was doing there. I've made the stop cut and I'm having to cut, get you turned around here so you can see, having to cut back and take that material out, just like that. Now, that being said, I have cut the top of my hand here several times trying to push through a knot. It'll break through that knot, hit down here, split that piece out, and then the knife will come down and get my hand. Something that I have learned to do over the years is to increase the points of contact on my knife. And by that, usually I'll hold it in that side hammer grip, but I'll take this thumb and put this thumb up on that hand, right on that thumb usually. And then I will hold that thumb kind of as a safety to keep me from accidentally cutting through and getting my hand. I'm sure other people have got little tricks too. I'm probably not the only one that does that. But increasing that contact on that knife gives you more control over it. Another thing that I do, especially when I'm using my spoon knife and carving spoons and stuff like that, is tape. This is cheap stretch tape from Walmart. I think 2 rolls of it are about $3. And I will take that stretch tape, especially if I'm doing a lot of carving, and wrap my finger like that, and I'll wrap my thumb a lot of times. And then that way, if I'm carving on something and I do touch that finger, that decreases the chances of me getting a serious cut from it. Now, like I said, there are going to be people that'll jump up and down and panic, never cut towards yourself. And that's right. When at all possible, avoid it. But, for instance, trying to cut that little 7 notch and hold it like that, and then trying to carve that out by itself creates a possibility of a cut, possibility of losing the wood, because you just don't have enough to hold on to. So always, whenever you're using a knife and cutting towards yourself, try to think of, okay, what can I do to decrease my chances of getting injured here? Because the last thing you want is to be out in the middle of nowhere by yourself and have a serious cut and not be able to deal with it. Please be careful whenever using a knife. I can't stress that enough. But at the same time, go out and have fun. Don't let it scare you to the point that, oh Lord, I can't go out, I don't want to get cut. You're going to get cut. No ifs, and or buts about it. Just do everything you can to decrease the chances of it being serious. The next video, probably a couple of days before I get it up, but the next video will go into more first aid, how to treat cuts, everything from little minor to major cuts, using tourniquets and stuff like that. And try not to scare people to death with that video. But by all means, get out, enjoy yourself, use your knife, have fun with it, experiment with different techniques for carving. You'll see a lot of the different grips and a lot of the techniques once we get into notching and batoning and all of that kind of stuff. That will where you'll see a lot of these different grips and techniques come into play. You'll also see some of the things that I do to try and eliminate the chances of me getting cut, because they just come second nature. I've done them so much I don't think about it anymore. So bear with me. This will get interesting, I think. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll get another one up for you soon.